How are you going to hold this team together over the long haul? You got Tyreek Hill, you got Chris Jones, you got Patrick Mahomes going to be eligible for a contract after this year. I mean, there's going to be a lot of money.
You got work ahead of you.
How you going to do it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's it's a good thing to have great players, but also there is the reality of having a cap and staying under that. It's going to be challenging, and there'll be certain things that we have to do, but it's a good problem to have, and I think teams would want to have those type of problems.
That was kind of funny. I'd forgotten that moment. I'm asking the guy a real question, and Sims is heckling him while I'm asking the question. Oh, boy, you got trouble.
Wanted to stir the pot a little bit. And I like him. He's a great guy, too. Yes, you're right. They got like issues that I think if you and I were both running the Kansas City Chiefs, we'd go, wow, this is awesome. I have these type of issues. But either way, they're issues that they have. But they have some talented, freaky, awesome type players that they're going to have to pay big money to.
And they're going to have some guys they're going to have to be willing to say goodbye to.
Yes.
That's the problem. They're kind of going through the Seattle Seahawks thing without ever winning the Super Bowl, where you've got guys like Justin Houston, Eric Berry, eventually Travis Kelce that are going to have to cycle off the roster, and you're going to have to hope you can keep drafting great young players who are cheap. See, that's where the rookie wage scale helps a team and hurts a veteran. You're less likely to keep an expensive veteran around because you think, hey, we'll roll the dice on a few draft picks.
Right.
We'll pay these guys a lot less. We'll save a ton of money, and maybe we get lucky and find a guy who can play.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. It's always about the younger guy. You get the younger guy, plus you get the younger guy who was a lot cheaper than the veteran guy who, of course, has a little wear and tear on his tires regardless. But the Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, in this conversation altogether, hey, I understand Justin Houston. They're going to let him go. It's that time in his career. He's a good football player still, but he's not the player that we saw a few years back that was flirting with the, all-time single-season sack record with 22 sacks and all those things. He's had little knee issues that he's had to worry with. So I get that, and then moving on there. Now, there was a talk of them maybe trading Dee Ford. That's one I don't buy into quite yet. I mean, Dee Ford is kind of at that prime point of his career. Like at the start of the show, we talked about Frank Clark, right, Mike, where he did some special things this year, and him and Chris Jones were by far and away the two most talented guys and biggest difference makers on that Chiefs defense this year, to where I would think they would keep him at least for this year through the franchise tag and at least continue to talk about whether they want to sign him to a long-term deal.
Yeah, and I think that part of this relates to the fight that could be looming, that should be looming between Dee Ford and the Chiefs over whether he's a defensive end or an outside linebacker. We touched on this briefly yesterday. There's only $1.7 million in the balance, but that's still $1.7 million. And when you're talking about a long-term deal, the more you bump up the front end, the more the dollars flow in years 2, 3, 4, and 5.
That's right.
When I saw the original report over the weekend that the Chiefs are thinking about trading him because they're not sure whether he fits in this move to a 4-3, that's a load of crap.
Load
right?
of crap.
An outside linebacker in a 3-4 is a defensive end in a 4-3. You put your hand in the dirt and you rush the passer. It doesn't matter what the label is. On 3rd and long, you're going after the quarterback. Period. I don't care how the 7 guys up front are allocated from a title standpoint. That's what you do. And I feel like the Chiefs know what's coming. They know that Ford is going to point out, hey, I'm a defensive end now in this new defense. And I think that they want to be able to say to an arbitrator at some point, well, we're not sure where he fits. And this report helps kind of spread the seeds as this gets rolling down the road weeks or months from now when they figure out whether or not he should be a defensive end or an outside linebacker for franchise tag purposes.
Yeah, exactly right. And, I mean, honestly, hey, 3-4, 4-3, just what you're talking about. Yeah, the Chiefs were primarily a 3-4 base defense the last few years under Bob Sutton. But, Mike, they barely played the 3-4. They were in nickel defense. I would bet you 8, 9 out of 10 snaps, somewhere in that range. So 80 to 90% of the time, they are playing a 4-down front where Dee Ford was a DN. So I think the Kansas City Chiefs, when they dive into the numbers and this becomes something that's in front of an how do you say that word?
Arbitrator.
Thank you. Exactly right. That word right there. When that gets in front of them, they're going to argue that he plays defensive end a whole lot more than outside linebacker, and that's what he needs to be paid accordingly to. I totally needs to be a defensive end, not an outside linebacker.
I shouldn't have told you that it's arbitrator, because now I'm very curious what you would have said.
Arbiter,
what the attempt
I was
would have
coming
been.
out with a lot of different things there. I wasn't sure.
Arbiter is close
worked,
enough,
right?
and it's
Okay.
actually correct in some context.
Yes,
so
right.
I just thought you had something really creative that would have been very entertaining.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.